Yeah, well, I mean, the movie opens on like a oneer inside a the armored truck that they're carrying money in. And it's funny because it's straight up rip off of the scene from Heat, from
Oh
from
yeah.
from beat for beat, where they break their way in, they put the flash in so the dudes are disoriented and can't see and hear, and then they put them up against the wall, and then literally one guy shoots them in the head.
Yeah.
Like beat for beat is exactly what they do in Heat.
Yeah.
But I liked seeing it in the opening scene here from the point of view of the people on the inside, where
Yes.
it's just a wonder of them driving the truck, and then they get stopped, and you can kind of see through the windshield that what's happening outside, and then you see them actually grinding their way in with the sparks going everywhere and throwing the flash in, and then you see the guards get headshot in the background in the windshield while they're throwing the money in and stealing it and everything like that.
And then you hear like the ominous gunshots that are kind of off screen, and then just the radio signal of, "Oh my God, he fucking shot a kid." And it's like,
Yeah.
it's really cool because what they do with this scene is they repurpose it over and over again from a different perspective, just to kind of unravel the story. And it's such a cool way to start it in this very closed space. And then as the movie goes, it just gets more open and more clear of what's going on. So
Yeah, you actually watch the scene like 3 times,
Yeah,
because later
yeah.
you watch it because the basic premise of the movie is that Jason Statham is kind of like this badass guy who signs up to be one of these truck drivers, and he signs up after this killing has happened, and they tell him, this is a pretty crazy job being a private armed truck delivery dude, and just so you know, we had 2 guys die on the job like just a couple months ago. And Jason Statham, who they call him Hill, which I'm guessing is supposed to be a reference to like Walter Hill, like the driver or something.
Yeah.
But then they also call him like H-bomb or Jesus H Christ. And they call him H for all these reasons. And,
I love
and
the
set
macho
up,
talk. It's so good.
it's so like absurdly macho.
Yeah. Even the
honestly.
the women guards that are in it are like saying like, "Hey, small dick" and shit like that. It's fantastic.
He tells Post Malone to suck his own dick, and also to get your ass out of your own ass or something.
And
is
you
another
and you
line that
get
he
a
gets.
shot too of Post Malone's. It's very quick, but it's a shot of Post Malone's fucking head with the brain matter and all that stuff. And it's just so insane because to have the perspective of like a pop star. You'd think like Post Malone works because he's got the tats on his face, so he kind of has that hardened look to him. But just imagine if this was like Bieber or something like that. It's so wild to see a pop star get smoked in the head.
Yeah, and that happens because, like Statham, he signed up for this job and he's one of these truck drivers, and but he's also, the way that he speaks, it's very curt, and that he's doing something else on some level. And the movie treats it as like a little bit of a mystery that he's just like this hyper badass dude who signed up, and other people kind of seem to know who he is, because essentially he is kind of like a mob guy.
Right.
in his own way. And we learn over the course of the film that the kid that gets shot is actually Jason Statham's kid, and it repurposes the opening heist sort of around like the 45-minute mark of the film, where you get to see him his kid just be sitting in a parked car near where the heist happens, and him try to come back with burritos, and he watches Scott Eastwood basically just like shoot his kid in the back,
and
like 4 or 5 times, and then also shoot him, and he gets like clotheslined by the gunfire and goes down.
Yeah, and what's a really kind of dark point to that scene is in the middle of that scene, he's actually doing a job that he didn't want to do because he's with his kid. So he goes to do that job, and really the only reason the kid gets killed is because he's working with his kid in the car. So there is that complicated feeling about it too. I think he feels a little bit of guilt, as well as just wants absolute vengeance. So I do like that complication about it as well.
Yeah, well, and I really like too. I saw some kind of complaints about this film being a little too kind of like dour. And I kind of thought that was a little odd, because I thought that the really ominous strings in the film, and like the absurdly grim, cruel mood of how nasty the violence can be, because it is all kind of like digital blood, but like you see every time someone gets an on-screen headshot, you see blood splatter go everywhere.
Yeah,
you see it hit windshields, you see it hit the ground, you see, I mean, at one point there's just a montage of Jason Statham and his gang just like torturing and killing people and like putting bags on their head where they can't breathe because the bag is filling up with blood, or like at one point he just goes into like a child porn dungeon and just headshots every single person inside.
Yeah, and I will say, with digital blood, I think it's going to improve over the years, and this was some of the better digital blood that I've seen.
I think so too. I thought so too. Well, and I think partially because it wasn't. It was kind of so casually implemented into the film. Like there wasn't like this like super emphasis gore shot unless it was aftermath, and if it was aftermath, it was done practically.
Yeah,
like basically most of the actual digital blood, it was kind of like these really nice oneer suspense shots where like in kind of like the periphery of the scene you see a guy get shot in the distance and you would just see the blood like hit the car beside him, or when you see Scott Eastwood like shoot the kid or something like that, like you just see the bullet wounds kind of like bleeding out of his back and stuff like that in a wide shot. You don't, it doesn't try to do like these, really, it doesn't try to replicate like the really intense close-up squib, you know? It's not being used in that way because digital just really can't replicate that in that way.
Yeah. And I think like it's getting better. So I'm hoping that in like 5-10 years time, the digital blood will be able to actually replace the squib. I think that squibs are always going to be superior, and I hope more people do them. But if they get to a point where they look real, then, I won't be...